Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tipped. My name is Julian, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about players that you can sell high or buy low if you want to make trades. These players that I'm going to tell you to buy low on are unsustainably low, and the players that I'm telling you guys to sell are players that are doing unsustainably well and will not keep up their current paces. Before we get started, guys, please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and follow me on Twitter at FantasyTipped. I'm constantly tweeting out updates, things to help you guys win each and every single week of the fantasy hockey season. One more thing before we get started. I'm going to be talking about shooting percentage and on-ice shooting percentage when I'm talking about different players. Your shooting percentage is the percentage of shots that go in the net when you shoot. Usually it should be about 10%-ish. Better players is a little bit higher. On ice shooting percentage is the percentage of shots that go in while you're on the ice in all situations. So if your on ice shooting percentage is well above 10%, then you're getting lucky, because on ice shooting percentage should always round out to about 10%. So let's jump right into the content, guys, and let's start with my first sell high player. And first is Nazem Kadri of the Colorado Avalanche. Has 23 points through 15 games. Check this fact out, guys. He's fourth in the league in points. Whoever would have thought that this far into the season, Nazem Kadri would be number 4 in the league in points? Not me, that's for sure. Well, guess what, guys? He's not going to continue his current production. He's on pace for 125 points. He's never hit more than 61 points in a season. So yeah, he's not going to keep up that crazy pace. That pace is obviously helped by the fact that McKinnon is missing. So Kadri's seeing extra ice time, seeing some top power play time, and right now he's on both power plays, which is absolutely insane. I'll have to say, he might keep it up in the short term, but there's no way he keeps that up over the course of the season. I don't think he's gonna get much more than his maximum he's ever gotten, which was 61 points. So without looking, you could probably know that Kadri's on-ice shooting percentage is quite high at 16.7%, and that should regress significantly. Sell him now while he's insanely valuable. Next is Matt Duchene, and this is another guy that I did not see coming at all. He's a top 30 fantasy player right now in most leagues. His shooting percentage, though, is over 21%, which is insanely high. His career average is 12.3, so it's way above where he's usually shooting. So his goals, he's not going to be getting as many goals as he's been getting because, frankly, he's been getting a ridiculous amount of goals, and obviously that's going to regress. And then on-ice shooting percentage is also a little bit high at 13.7%. His average is just about that 10% where it should be. So obviously his numbers will go down significantly. Will they go down like crazy? It's possible that they don't. He could potentially go back to being a point per game player, although in the last 3 seasons, he hasn't even been close to that until this season. But I personally see him finishing with just over 60 points. So if you could sell him at his current value, at his value that people think he's going to be scoring goals left and right, I'm going to sell him and see what I can get. Next is Mikael Granlund of the Nashville Predators, 41% owned, and he has the same amount of points as Duchene. 19 points in 18 games. So he's been over a point per game so far. The only reason he's not as owned is because Duchene's been scoring more goals. Well, Granlund's shooting percentage is also a little bit high. Even though he only has 4 goals, he doesn't shoot that much. So he's also obviously going to regress a little bit. His on-ice shooting percentage is 14.7, so that's going to go down, mostly because Duchene's shooting percentage is going to go down, so it's going to make his on-ice shooting percentage go down. They play together on the same line, so if Duchene regresses, Granlund by default is going to regress, and Granlund definitely still has a pretty decent ceiling. The dude's put up some pretty strong seasons before, but like I said with Duchene, I see his ceiling being around that 60-point range, so definitely not a point per game or over a point per game guy for the rest of the year. Next is Ryan Hartman of the Minnesota Wild, currently 55% rostered in Yahoo leagues. He's shooting an insane amount. There's no doubt about that. He has 61 shots through 18 games. Like, he's shooting the puck, that's for sure. His shooting percentage, though, is almost 15%, which is really high. His career is 9.5. He shoots below average, really, and on average. So this season, obviously, he has a bigger role. So it's more likely that he does score more goals. I understand he's a top 6 forward this year. But this guy has never scored more than 31 points in a single season. And he's 27 years old, so it's not like he's still developing. So I'm not buying into this that he's suddenly going to be a guy who gets more than a point every 2 games or so. I understand that his deployment's pretty good, and obviously the upside for the amount of shots he takes in every single game is pretty high. So obviously there definitely is some appeal to keep him on your team. And if you do want to do that just for that safe floor, that's absolutely fine. You can just go and see what you can get for this guy though, because he has been just so good so far this season, and that shooting percentage will go down a little bit and his points will go down a little bit as well. Next is actually my last sell high player of the video, Jack Campbell. As you can see, those stats on the screen are absolutely crazy good. He's having a record year. He's a top 10 fantasy player in most leagues right now. He's not a must-sell player by any means, but there's a very good chance that he doesn't stay this good all year, right? Plus, Peter Mrazek, when he returns from injury, may absorb a few starts and therefore take away a few starts from Jack Campbell. If you can get an elite forward like a McKinnon or a Barkov for Jack Campbell, I am absolutely making that trade. Jack Campbell has been amazing, but if you can get a forward that's that good, I am making that deal right now. So guys, the reason that I only have 5 sell high candidates this week is because a lot of the sell high and buy low candidates that I talked about in my last buy low sell high video. So if you guys do want to check out my last video and see who to sell high on, these guys are definitely still relevant. You can go ahead and click the link right up there. Moving on to some buy low candidates now. And first on my list is Elias Pettersson of the Vancouver Canucks. He has only 10 points through 19 games, which is really not great for his standards. He's almost a point every 2 games. Just not great. His shooting percentage, though, is only 5.6%, which is insanely low. He should be way above that for a player of his talent. So that's going to improve at some point this season. And his on-ice shooting percentage is 8.6, which is also fairly low. So his numbers should definitely trend in the positive direction over the next few weeks, and he should be back to being his elite self. You probably don't have to give away too much for Elias Pettersson right now, which is why now is the perfect time to trade for him. Next, kind of by default, is Brock Besser. They play together on a power play and on the same line normally, and obviously if Pettersson's not doing that great, Besser's not doing that great, and as you can see, he's not. He has 8 points through 16 games, so also a point every 2 games, and his on-ice shooting percentage is fairly low at 7.6%, and his personal shooting percentage is 10%. His career is about 13.5, so he should start scoring more goals. His assists should definitely start going up, and this guy could definitely turn it around later on in the year. You can buy him pretty low right now. Next is Sean Couturier of the Philadelphia Flyers. He's actually having a pretty decent season, has 13 points through 16 games. Pretty good season overall, but over his last 6 games, he only has 1 point. And a lot of Sean Couturier owners are getting frustrated. So if you can weasel Sean Couturier for a cheap price off of them right now, now is kind of the time to do it because he is pretty cold. Don't worry, guys. Couturier is the best player on Philadelphia, and he will definitely turn things around. And it's kind of the same thing for Torrey Krug of the St. Louis Blues. He's having a good year with 10 points in 13 games, but he had missed a few games because of the COVID IR. He's back now, but only has 2 points in 4 games with not that many peripherals since he's gotten back. Well, because of that, you may be able to buy low now on Torrey Krug. You might not be able to buy that low, but definitely his price right now may not be as high as it was before he was on the COVID list. Next is Dominik Kubalik of the Chicago Blackhawks. He's on an insane cold streak right now. He's actually dropped below 50% owned, which is surprising to me. He's an elite shooter, okay? Before this season, his shooting percentage career was about 15%. Right now, this season, it's 7.1. So that shooting percentage could easily double. He could easily have 6 goals right now instead of 3. And his on-ice shooting percentage is 5.9%, which is really, really low. So that could definitely go up as well. He should definitely start piling up some more assists. And as long as he keeps getting played with Chicago's better players, Kubalik's numbers should definitely turn around, and he makes for an excellent buy low candidate right now because really he's not doing anything at all right now, and a lot of owners are giving up on him. So you probably have to get rid of nothing to trade for him. Next is Jakob Chychrun, and I've told you guys to be patient with him. Looks like he's finally starting to turn things around, so this may be your last chance to buy low on Jakob Chychrun. Obviously, if plus minus is something that you need that's important to you in your league, maybe don't trade it for Jakob Chychrun. He's a minus 21 this season, so maybe not my favorite option. He's on a bad team, but he's starting to put up some points again. His shooting percentage is 3.2%, so there's still a lot of improvement to go, and his on-ice shooting percentage is 3.9%. So obviously, he still has a lot to offer. Jakob Chychrun, he shoots the puck a lot, so he will be scoring goals. Obviously, that shooting upside is super nice too, and I think from here on out, Chychrun should have a pretty good season. Next is Matthew Barzal of the New York Islanders, and he's having his worst recorded season of his career right now. His worst season before this one, he ended up with 62 points in 82 games, which by no means is a bad season at all. Every other season, he's been basically a point per game guy. So am I super worried about Matt Barzal? No, I'm not really super worried about Matt Barzal. He's a super good talent, and he's going to turn things around. His on-ice shooting percentage is 6.3%, so that's bound to go up. And I think trading right now for Matt Barzal is a great idea because owners of Barzal are getting really frustrated with him, and you probably don't have to give up much for Matt Barzal. Next is kind of an interesting one for me because Alex Radulov is ranked so low in fantasy leagues that you might be able to acquire him for basically pennies on the dollar. Like, you probably have to give up absolutely nothing for Alexander Radulov because owners of him are probably super, super frustrated. And recently he got demoted to the fourth line, so obviously that's not great. But maybe that will light a fire under his butt and he will finally start producing because 7 points through 16 games for Radulov is not good, and we all know that Radulov could do a lot better than that. His personal shooting percentage is 3.4%, which is insanely low. That should definitely go up. He should definitely have at least a few more goals, and his on-ice shooting percentage is pretty low as well at 7.3%. So obviously, positive regression is pretty much inevitable with Radulov. Am I paying a crazy amount for Radulov? Absolutely not. It's possible that his age has caught up to him, so it's possible that maybe he doesn't turn things around that much, and maybe Dallas's coach doesn't give him the right deployment, doesn't give him top 6 time. It's absolutely possible. So again, I'm not paying a crazy amount for this guy, but it's definitely worth the risk if you can give up minimal assets for him. Next is my Manscaped must-buy player of the video, Mark Scheifele. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code word FANTASYTIPPED at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com with the code word FANTASYTIPPED. Unlock your confidence, guys, and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Guys, the holiday season is approaching, so get your Christmas shopping done early at manscaped.com. Use the code word FANTASYTIPPED. You'll get 20% off, you'll get free shipping, and you'll get your holiday shopping done early this year. So Mark Scheifele is definitely someone that I want to be trading for right now. A lot of owners are really frustrated with him, and he's not even doing that bad with 7 points through 12 games. Obviously, they expected more from him, but he had a couple of instances where he had to be out of the lineup, but it looks like now Scheifele is going to turn it around. He was drafted in the 4th round, and I think his value is still exactly there where he was being drafted. Obviously, hasn't had the best start of the season, guys, but I think from here on out, Scheifele is going to be a really good player to have on your team. And if you can get him from an owner who's frustrated with him right now, I absolutely think you should do that. Guys, Scheifele is insanely valuable, and guys that I would consider trading for Scheifele are guys like Bertuzzi, Timo Meier, Troy Terry. Those guys, I would do it right away. Those guys are players that are playing insanely well this year, but those guys are unsustainably high, whereas Mark Scheifele, I'd much rather have him on my team. And last but not least, I have Tyler Toffoli of the Montreal Canadiens, and he gets to play with Nick Suzuki not only on the top line, but also on the top power play in Montreal. And Toffoli's shooting percentage is actually a little bit low right now, so his goals could definitely start going up a little bit. And I think Toffoli is someone that a lot of people are sleeping on right now, because if Montreal can really figure their stuff out and, they start producing a little bit more, and maybe Cole Caulfield starts to wake up a little bit, who's also playing on his line, a lot of things could definitely contribute to Toffoli turning it around a little bit. And even as it is, he's not doing too bad with 12 points through 20 games. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.